You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
Secure access is crucial for U.S. public sector missions, ensuring that only authorized users can access certain systems, networks, or data. Are your defenses ready? Cisco's Security Service Edge delivers comprehensive protection for your network and users. Experience the power of zero trust and secure your workforce wherever they are. Elevate your security strategy by visiting cisco.com/go.sse. That's cisco.com/go/sse. CISA braces for widespread staffing cuts. Russian hackers target a Western military mission in Ukraine. China acknowledges Volt Typhoon. The U.S. signs on to global spyware restrictions. A lab supporting Planned Parenthood confirms a data breach. Threat actors steal metadata from unsecured Amazon EC2 instances. A critical WordPress plugin vulnerability is under active exploitation. A new analysis details a critical unauthenticated remote code execution flaw affecting Avanti products. Joining us today is Johannes Ulrich, Dean of Research at the SANS Technology Institute, with his take on Vibe security. And does AI really understand? And does that ultimately matter? It's Friday, April 11th, 2025. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us here today. Happy Friday. It is great to have you with us. The Trump administration is preparing to cut about 1,300 positions at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, slashing roughly half its full-time staff and 40% of its contractors. These planned cuts follow White House frustration over CISA's perceived role in moderating conservative content. Major reductions are expected at the National Risk Management Center and the Stakeholder Engagement Division. CISA's threat hunting team will also be downsized. Some responsibilities may shift to the Cybersecurity Division. Officials say the exact scope and timeline remain undecided and could change. Meanwhile, the administration is pushing early retirements and buyouts, offering up to $25,000. Political appointments for regional directors are also under consideration. CISA Director nominee Sean Planke's confirmation is being blocked by Senator Ron Wyden over transparency issues. The cybersecurity industry has largely stayed silent after President Trump revoked security clearances for SentinelOne staff, Reuters reports. The move appears tied to the company hiring Chris Krebs, ex-CISA chief fired by Trump in 2020 for rejecting election fraud claims. Despite Krebs's respect in cyber circles, most major cybersecurity firms declined to comment, fearing retaliation. Only the Cyber Threat Alliance spoke out, criticizing the action as political targeting. SentinelOne said it expects no major impact, though its stock dropped 7% following the news. Russian state-backed hacking group Gamaredon, also known as Shuckworm, has been targeting a Western military mission in Ukraine using removable drives to deploy attacks. Between February and March of this year, they used an upgraded version of their Gamma Steel malware to steal sensitive data. The group likely gained access via malicious shortcut files on external drives. Recent tactics show a shift to PowerShell-based tools, increased obfuscation, and use of legitimate services for stealth. Once infected, the malware collects screenshots, system info, and documents, storing payloads in the Windows registry and using PowerShell or curl over Tor for exfiltration. It also spreads to other drives and establishes persistence via registry keys. Symantec notes Gamaredon's tactics are evolving, making the group a growing threat despite its relatively unsophisticated methods. In a secret December 2024 meeting in Geneva, Chinese officials indirectly admitted to cyber attacks on U.S. infrastructure tied to the Volt Typhoon campaign, according to the Wall Street Journal. The U.S. delegation, part of the outgoing Biden administration, interpreted the admission as a warning over American support for Taiwan. Volt Typhoon, attributed to China in 2023, targeted critical U.S. sectors using zero-day exploits and stayed undetected in parts of the electric grid for 300 days. The attacks spanned communications, energy, transportation, and more, raising concerns about espionage and potential disruption. The meeting also touched on the Salt Typhoon campaign, which compromised telecom data from senior officials. While the U.S. views Volt Typhoon as a serious provocation, Salt Typhoon is seen as typical cyber espionage. Both nations continue to escalate mutual cyber attack accusations. The U.S. will join an international agreement under the Pall Mall process, an international initiative launched in February by the United Kingdom and France to address the misuse of commercial spyware. This follows a voluntary code of practice signed by 21 countries aiming to regulate commercial cyber intrusion capabilities and curb abuses targeting civil society. Sparked by scandals in Poland, Mexico, and Greece, the agreement seeks to separate responsible vendors from those linked to human rights violations. Human rights advocates praise the move as a bipartisan step toward responsible spyware governance. Laboratory Services Cooperative, LSC, a nonprofit supporting reproductive health labs, confirmed a data breach affecting 1.6 million people. Hackers accessed its network in October 2024, stealing sensitive data including personal IDs, medical records, and insurance details. Most affected individuals had lab work done through select Planned Parenthood centers. LSC is offering credit and identity protection services and says no stolen data has appeared on the dark web so far. An investigation is ongoing with federal law enforcement and cybersecurity experts involved. In March, a threat actor used server-side request forgery attacks to steal metadata from unsecured Amazon EC2 instances, according to F5 Labs. The attacker targeted EC2-hosted websites that left instance metadata exposed, potentially leaking sensitive AIM credentials. The campaign ran from March 13th through the 25th and involved tens of thousands of GET requests from IPs tied to French firm FBW Networks SAS. F5 advises migrating from IMD SV1 to IMD SV2 or blocking requests to the metadata IP to mitigate future risks. A critical vulnerability in the AutoKit WordPress plugin is being actively exploited, according to security firm Defiant. The plugin, with over 100,000 installs, allows attackers to bypass authentication and create admin accounts on unconfigured sites by exploiting a missing value check in API key validation. This gives full site control, including uploading malicious files or injecting spam. While only unconfigured installations are at risk, users are urged to update to the latest version to patch the flaw. A newly published analysis details a critical unauthenticated remote code execution flaw affecting Avanti products, including Connect Secure, Policy Secure, Pulse Connect Secure, and ZTA gateways. Exploited by a suspected China-linked actor, the bug stems from a stack-based buffer overflow in the web server binary via the x-forwarded4 header. Exploitation is complex due to payload restrictions. Only digits and periods are allowed, forcing attackers to use heap spray and ROP techniques to gain code execution. The attack bypasses ASLR through brute force. Avanti patched Connect Secure in February, with other product updates due in April. Pulse Connect Secure is no longer supported. Given the public proof of concept and active exploitation, urgent patching or mitigation is critical. Coming up after the break, my conversation with Johannes Ulrich, Dean of Research at the SANS Technology Institute, with his take on Vibe security. And does AI understand? And does that ultimately even matter? Stay with us. Do you know the status of your compliance controls right now? Like, right now. We know that real-time visibility is critical for security, but when it comes to our GRC programs, we rely on point-in-time checks. But get this. More than 8,000 companies like Atlassian and Quora have continuous visibility into their controls with Vanta. Here's the gist. Vanta brings automation to evidence collection across 30 frameworks, like SOC 2 and ISO 27001. They also centralize key workflows like policies, access reviews, and reporting, and helps you get security questionnaires done 5 times faster with AI. Now that's a new way to GRC. Get $1,000 off Vanta when you go to vanta.com/cyber. That's vanta.com/cyber for $1,000 off. Are you frustrated with cyber risk scores backed by mysterious data, zero context, and cloudy reasoning? Typical cyber ratings are ineffective, and the true risk story is begging to be told. It's time to cut the BS. Black Kite believes in seeing the full picture with more than a score, one where companies have complete clarity in their third-party cyber risk using reliable, quantitative data. Make better decisions. Reduce your uncertainty. Trust Black Kite. And I'm pleased to be joined once again by Johannes Ulrich. He is the Dean of Research at the SANS Technology Institute and also the host of the SANS ISC Stormcast podcast. Johannes, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
So I want to talk about vibes today, Johannes. I want to talk about vibes. It seems like the word vibe has found its way into InfoSec. People are vibe coding.
Yeah, vibe coding is like the big thing. Why learn how to code with AI? We just describe the problem and AI will magically solve it for us with some really interesting code that we don't really need to understand. We just use it and I guess then complain, cry later.
You sound like you might have a particular opinion about this approach, Johannes, that perhaps vibe coding isn't the best path.
Yeah, and the same methodology, of course, enters all kinds of realms, including security. With coding, there was, if you are still on X, there's some great little memes that went around there with developers applying that methodology. I think most of them are made up, but they're funny enough where it doesn't really matter that they're made up. The vibe security comes in if. And I thought a little bit of this, working for the SANS College, where you sort of, colleges have this problem with vibe paper writing, where people write papers using AI, then faculty, not our faculty, but other faculty may use AI to actually then create the paper. So you have and the similar thing happens with security, where you have developers use AI to create code, and then you have security teams using AI to check that code for security flaws. And of course, now you're basically losing any kind of diversity in your methodologies here. You're hitting a point where things just become too complex to actually double check what the AI is doing. That's the really important part here. If you don't know how to code, if you don't know what proper security looks like, how do you know if that firewall rule set that AI came up with, these 200 lines of firewall rules or whatever, if they're actually correct?
Well, let's say you are the person who's supervising a team of coders, and they're saying to you, hey, we can have some real efficiency upgrades here by partnering with these AI systems. How do you manage it to make sure that it stays within the realm of checkability?
Yeah, and I think you mentioned an important word here, partnering. It's a partnership. It's not where I just hand it over.
Hmm.
And I think it's very similar to outsourcing code generation and has very similar problems. A lot of companies outsource coding and outsource security. And that's a valid thing to do. But the problem usually comes back to bite you is, did you write the specifications complete? If you can't really write specifications that allow a human developer to create the system for you, how is AI supposed to have a chance at it? Back to the firewall rules, how is AI going to write correct firewall rules if it doesn't know what your network looks like? So you still have to do the inventory, which, of course, a lot of people are having issues with. And if that's not right, it's sort of the good old garbage in, garbage out. You won't get any good results if you don't tell it really what these results are supposed to accomplish.
I was chatting with someone earlier today about interacting with AI, and one of the things that she warned against was boxing AI into a corner, because AI tends to want to please you. So if you tell it, you must give me these results, it will, even if that involves lying to you or, making things up.
Yep.
It strikes me that with coding, where things are black and white, we're talking they work or they don't, that you have to be careful about not backing your AI into a corner to the point where you don't understand what it's making for you.
Yeah, and back of the specifications, I think that hits us with security all the time. We have software that actually works just fine, unless you start to try to bypass authentication, and then it will still work fine. It will do everything you told it to do. It will just not verify who you are, and if you never told it how to do it, it won't do it. So that's really kind of problem. It's often an old computer science problem where developers are usually graded on passing functionality tests, not security tests. And if you give the same reward system to AI, it'll basically end up with the same bad code.
So are we talking about having some audit methodologies in place here? I mean, how do you get the best of both worlds?
I think you get the best of both worlds by having developers like I said, partner with the AI, where the developer is still ultimately in charge and reviewing the results and able to understand what the AI produced, whether that's code, whether that's cloud formation configuration, whether it's firewall rules or whatever. At our college, we actually implemented a policy around this. Already this like 2 years ago, last year, forgot. Time flies. But they said, hey, you're free to use AI, but you're responsible for the result. It's not where you can say, hey, AI ate my homework. So there still has to be a developer, someone who's actually double checking the work and also double checking the specifications, the prompts that are being used. And I think in order to write good prompts, just in order to write good specifications for human developer, you need to understand the system.
Yeah. It seems to me reasonable as well that whoever your developer is, even if they're partnering with the AI to do their work, they're responsible for being able to walk you through what the code does and actually not hand-waving away that, oh, here's where a miracle occurs.
Correct. So they have to understand what's happening there. And I think one of the most dangerous things about all of this, which I don't really see people talk about too much, is AI is really good. And that's very dangerous because if you have like that partner that's usually right and you wasted a lot of time in the past trying to prove it wrong, then you start hand waving, and the results are usually really close to the right result if they're wrong. I'm not sure if you tried it to have AI summarize security news, and I tried, and it's actually pretty good at that. Give an article and tell me, hey, what's the takeaway from this, or what's the action? What I found, it gives you the right result. It may not give you the result that you're really looking for. And the real difference here is, like, you have an article about some problem with no authentication, and it'll tell you, hey, use strong passwords. Well, but this was an authentication bypass where passwords weren't at all involved. And so the results sounded reasonable, and it's sort of one of those results that maybe someone who has just taken their first security class would have given you reading that article.
Right.
But they didn't sort of read deeper. They didn't sort of understand the context of that particular vulnerability.
No, it's a great insight, and I've often said that, to me, a useful way to look at AI for that sort of thing is that it's a tireless intern, right? Like, it will go off and do all the work that you ask it to do, but at the same time, you would not bet the company on an intern. You just wouldn't do it.
Well, you blame interns for any vulnerabilities there, so now you just blame.
Sure. Absolutely.
I just blame the AI. So that analogy, actually, I think is really good there.
All right. Johannes Ulrich, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
What's the common denominator in security incidents? Escalations and lateral movement. When a privileged account is compromised, attackers can seize control of critical assets. With bad directory hygiene and years of technical debt, identity attack paths are easy targets for threat actors to exploit, but hard for defenders to detect. This poses risk in Active Directory, Entra ID, and hybrid configurations. Identity leaders are reducing such risks with attack path management. You can learn how attack path management is connecting identity and security teams while reducing risk with Bloodhound Enterprise, powered by SpecterOps. Head to specterops.io today to learn more. SpecterOps, see your attack paths the way adversaries do. And finally, large language models are acing benchmarks faster than researchers can invent them. But does that mean they understand? To tackle this big question, IEEE Spectrum and the Computer History Museum hosted a lively March 25th debate. On the no side was Emily Bender, a vocal LLM critic and co-author of Stochastic Parrots. On the yes side stood Sebastian Bubeck of OpenAI, co-author of Sparks of AGI. The fiery but respectful showdown explored whether these AI systems truly comprehend or just cleverly imitate. The debate kicks off with Emily Bender on Team Nope and Sebastian Bubeck from Team Kinda, Yeah, diving into linguistics, AI benchmarks, and whether machines can grasp meaning like we do. Bender leans hard into the "they're just parrots" metaphor, warning us about the illusions of understanding and the dangers of relying on LLMs in healthcare, law, and more. Meanwhile, Bubeck cheerfully reminds us these models are pulling off math feats that make your high school teacher weep, and whether or not they understand, they're undeniably useful. The debate was spirited, nuanced, and philosophical. Oxford Union meets Silicon Valley. One of the takeaways is understanding might be overrated if your chatbot can still beat you at logic puzzles or build you an app overnight. These are still early days, and time will tell how much we come to trust and rely on these technologies in our day-to-day lives. For now, I think it's fair to say that, love 'em or hate 'em, they are here to stay. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. N2K's senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our CyberWire producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Trey Hester with original music and sound design by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here next week. Looking for a career where innovation meets impact? Vanguard's technology team is shaping the future of financial services by solving complex challenges with cutting-edge solutions. Whether you're passionate about AI, cybersecurity, or cloud computing, Vanguard offers a dynamic and collaborative environment where your ideas drive change. With career growth opportunities and a focus on work-life balance, you'll have the flexibility to thrive both professionally and personally. Explore open cybersecurity and technology roles today at vanguardjobs.com.